Hey everybody, my name is Dominic Macaluso, and today I'll be presenting a brief change analysis for St. Clair Tennis Club. So a little bit about St. Clair. The analysis kind of has to do with some of the staff issues and some of the ways that I believe the hierarchical distribution of power can be shifted from ownership to different employees. I'm going to talk a little bit about the resources that they have and also the resources that they need. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the environment and how that's been changing and some of the ways that the competition in the area has shifted the way that St. Clair Tennis has done things. It's very important to focus, I think, on long-term success for St. Clair Tennis, which involves transitions in management, like I've said before, the ownership kind of letting go of some of that managerial power, the need to, again, update those resources and use more data-driven decisions, which go hand in hand with making some technological improvements, and then just allocating resources better. That has to change, and they have to be willing to invest a little bit more. And then I've worked with this club, and I've played tennis at this club many times. I've spent a lot of hours here, so I feel as if I know a little bit about kind of what the change needs to be made for this club. Yeah, so the first barrier to change is really a creative block. Ownership is unwilling to change different things. They've done things the same way for a long time, and it's been okay. But the first big thing is there's a complete lack of hierarchical structure. The organization is completely and entirely controlled by the ownership. There is absolutely there's no management. Nobody else has any power besides the ownership, which really ends up causing this complete lack of motivation for employees to progress. There's 4 tennis professionals there, and none of them have any say as to how they do things and how they wish that things could be done better. And many of these tennis professionals, I would say actually all of them have more experience with tennis than the ownership does, but the ownership is unwilling or unable to let go of some of that control. Which really inhibits risk-taking and creativity. The inability to create change results in poor performance, disinterested employees, and these employees really turn into private contractors instead of employees, where they come in and they use the building and they work independently, and then they leave, which is not a very good structure for a club that wants to do a lot better, to do things better, to take more control of the market. And unfortunately, a lot of these tennis professionals actually end up working independently when possible. In the summer, they will move out of the club, they'll get their own tennis balls, and they'll just coach at public courts, which is a huge problem for St. Clair. And like I said before, there really is no reward system for employees. There's no intrinsic value to do, exceptional work. And this leaves instructors to produce, minimum professional service quality and just to go through the motions. Illusionary control is a big thing, I think, in this. In this case, the ownership has this perception of control and this comfortable position due to lack of competition. Their biggest competitor closed down due to being bought out by one of the local high schools, and this has really led them to taking their foot, really off the gas even more. And they need to just accept that change is a part of business, and it should be a part of their business strategy as well. So the first thing that they need to do is to delegate management roles to some of these teaching professionals. They need to create new roles to take some of the management responsibility from ownership. 2 of these important roles that I've seen at every club that I've worked at is director of tennis and head teaching professional. These are really important roles in every tennis club, and it really provides a little bit more structure. It provides reward systems for the assistant professionals that look up to them and say, okay, I want to, be rewarded with higher pay, with more freedom, with more responsibility to implement change. And this really would create, I think, more of a culture of motivation, risk-taking, the desire to make the organization better from within the organization, because right now there's absolutely there's no incentive to do anything like that. The next thing that they need to change is just making updates to technology. There are a lot of problems with the current system for scheduling and core reservations. Then this mostly has to do with the fact that they're still using a big paper calendar, and they erase and they write in, and this leads to overbooking, cancellations, and overstaffed or understaffed leagues, clinics, private lessons, really you name it, and I've seen it. There's just a need to transition into a normal computerized system where you RSVP for different sessions, and this really erases the club's responsibility and liability with booking issues. And I think that, as long as you implement this technology, you begin to see more of a seamless booking process and much fewer errors. Finally, they need to change and update the allocation of resources. The ownership has, for many years, been reluctant to invest in the club. This involves the tennis courts, the lobby, tennis balls, nets, etc., and they're falling behind their competition due to routinization. They're long overdue in updating the courts. I don't think that they ever have, and they should be updated every 7-8 years, and I know that they haven't been updated in at least 15 years. And their tennis balls, people will bring their own. It really is a mess. This really brings up the importance of continuous adjustment and resource allocation, just not falling behind, continuing to improve, updating facilities and improving the overall product. So in conclusion, competition will emerge in the future. They've been very fortunate as of late to have not had any competitors in the area, but the area is growing. It's updating. People are moving in, and they're interested in tennis and pickleball, both things that the club offers. And this really it's important for St. Clair to be where they need to be when those people come and when the competition inevitably comes. They have to change. They have to adapt. They have to improve before others enter into the industry and disrupt the market, which will happen. And it's just so important for them to embrace this change and this creativity in order to attract new customers. Thank you very much.